Wendy, if you want to start. Welcome everybody to the final webinar of the URISA 2021 Excellence in GIS webinar series. This is the last presentation of URISA's Exemplary Systems in GIS or ESIG award winners from last year. My name is Nicole Dogan and I work at the Town of Flower Mound as a Senior GIS Analyst. Today we're going to hear from two of Stark County, Ohio's staff about their 2021 ESIG award-winning system, Restart Stark. After the presentation, we will end up taking questions through the Zoom chat and hopefully have plenty of time for Q&A. So feel free to type your questions into the chat as we go. Before we start, I'd like to introduce Skyler Dewey. She joined Stark County GIS team in 2016 as a GIS analyst and moved into a solutions architect role and is currently the Stark County GIS team lead. She has 13 years of experience in the ever-evolving field of GIS. Skyler has a Bachelor of Arts degree in geography from Kent State University. Prior to joining Stark County, she held GIS-related positions with Muskingum Watershed Conservancy District and Kucera International Incorporated. Haley Zehentbauer joined the Stark County team in 2018 as a GIS analyst and moved into the position of Business Analyst for the Stark County IT department. Haley is a graduate from Youngstown State University with a Bachelor of Arts in Geography. Haley has been very involved with URISA previously and served as President for Ohio URISA, Chair of URISA's Vanguard Cabinet, and Vice Chair of the Chapter Development and Regulations Council. Thank you, Skyler and Haley, for being here. I'm looking forward to your presentation. Take it away, ladies.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone, for attending. The Restart Stark system accomplished much more than a typical digital solution. Our GIS team, we've deployed many solutions over the years, but this was the first that required not only a quick turnaround time, but needed to be modified constantly. The goal was not to create a solution and deploy it. Our goal was to create something that could evolve with the ever-changing direction coming from both the federal and the state level concerning COVID-19. However, the solution, it needed to be simple and clear information for the general public to stay healthy and for local businesses to find the information they needed to open and to stay open. This solution also needed to create an opportunity for many to be involved, creating a new collaborative effort that crossed health department jurisdiction boundaries within Stark County. This included the health departments from the cities of Alliance, Canton, Massillon, and the county health department. The efforts also involved other county departments as well as economic development groups within the county. So I'm going to turn this over to Skyler, our fearless leader, who led this effort.
Okay, so I thought we could start with kind of like a little history. Why did we even do this? How this came to be? So in March of 2020, Stark County IT and GIS staff were instructed to begin working from home due to the spread of COVID-19. I think that was on like a Friday. So on Monday, we all started working from home. For us, it really wasn't, that part wasn't a big lift for us. We had already been piloting a work from home option a couple days a week. We already had our home offices set up. So our infrastructure and telecom departments within Stark County IT didn't have to scramble for our teams to begin successfully working from home day one. So that part was, really nice. We didn't have that lag time. While we were working from home, like our first week from home, the Stark County GIS team really wanted to help in any way we could, but we were like, oh, what can we do as GIS professionals? And our team, is made up of quite a few caring individuals that have that how can we help mentality. Sometimes we bite off more than we can chew, but it's always nice to know that what you're working on is making a difference. You know, as local government employees, that's who we are. We're public servants. So the how we can help evolved. We all kind of agreed that guidance at the local, state, and federal level was overwhelming. Like many other GIS teams in local government, we decided, why don't we try spinning up a ArcGIS hub to focus on that key information. We even, you know, found ourselves kind of like disagreeing during Teams calls with each other on various guidance, like, oh, I read this and someone else read something else. So that was a big push for us as well. So why did we go with an ArcGIS hub? Esri, this is a direct quote from Esri. It's an easy to configure cloud platform that organizes people, data, and tools to accomplish initiatives and goals. And honestly, we were just comfortable deploying an ArcGIS hub. We had done so in the past. There's the image on the screen is just our Stark County GIS hub, which is really like an open data portal is kind of how they were first deployed, but we switched it over to a hub. So it contains, you know, like all our applications, data, all that kind of information. So a hub made sense for us. So that was why we ended up going with doing a hub. And they really are easy to configure. So for us, step one was to just get some ideas. We all just started browsing the web to get some great ideas. We noticed that many other local governments out there had already deployed something using ArcGIS Hub. And Esri had that Coronavirus Response Hub initiative available just through one of their local, one of their regular licensing options. So we decided to go ahead and try that. And we weren't new to addressing a challenge, but hubs, they are easy to deploy, but we really didn't have much use for them prior to 2020, or didn't realize we had much use for them prior to 2020. So it was kind of like some back and forth, but we did all agree that that would be the best route to go. So our first release related to COVID-19 of a hub was we called it the Stark County Coronavirus Response Hub. We wanted to deploy it as quickly as possible. The goal was to get more departments and agencies involved, which, as you all know, it takes time. So what we ended up focusing on was just quick deployment. So our first release was, we wanted to make sure it had basic guidance and a few map applications that were created by others, but we filtered them to Stark County information. We call this, and I know other people use the term too, an MVP product, a minimum viable product. We really just need enough features to attract early adopter customers and validate the product idea early in the product development cycle. So that was our goal with the Coronavirus Response Hub. So here's just like an example of one of the items that we ended up snagging from Esri. Esri had an impact planning for COVID-19 dashboard out there. We were able to go out there, make a copy of it, make a copy of it, and then filter the data so that it reflected Stark County data. And this was kind of like what we did with the hub, right? When we had time, we would add new ideas that came in. So staff was also one of the things that helped make our hub so successful as well, I think anyways, is that we used Microsoft Teams a lot to communicate with each other while we were working remotely. So there was a weekly call that was happening between quite a few elected officials, emergency management, various health departments throughout the county, economic development board, and really there were many more as well. And this was the perfect audience to show what we had put together. Also, tuning in for these calls gave us a lot of new ideas for content that really helped us build out the Stark County Coronavirus Response Hub with information that we gathered from these calls. Another thing that we're kind of fortunate with at Stark County GIS is that we do have executive level support, which makes accomplishing our goals so much easier. Between Alan Harold, the Stark County auditor, our IT director, Zach Malloy, and deputy IT director, John Reese, who is also the former GIS director, showcasing what we had put together was exciting because ultimately we knew we had their support. So through these calls, it was agreed by various elected officials that using the hub we had curated would work as a single source of information for the county. So each county government homepage featured the Coronavirus Response Hub as a clickable link. So this is kind of a picture of our old website. And at the top, so elected officials kind of had the choice of whether or not they wanted to pick just the little red line or if they wanted the full banner. But again, this is kind of a snapshot of what our old county homepage looked like. So it was front and center and a clickable link to get in there and see that information. So another big piece, again, is just the calls that were happening. So we were able to listen and create applications to fit the needs that we were hearing. One of the ideas that came from the call was deploying government buildings open to the public with their office hours. So to help with that, we ended up using a nearby instant app. That's one of Esri's tools because we knew it was something that we needed to deploy quickly. And we already had some of the data available. So one staff member spent a few hours acquiring the extra necessary data to make this work and then deployed the application. This one I'm happy to report was taken down after the government offices reopened to the public. Maintaining that data was challenging, but it was necessary. We did see people were hitting this application just to get information. And again, those calls, we were able to get like what businesses needed, what the public was calling about and asking about consistently. And we ended up, taking those ideas and prioritizing them from small effort, high reward. And those became our focus of which applications we would deploy or what information we needed to gather to put out on the site. And, like looking back on all the work that was done, the majority of our time was spent massaging the data to fit like these templates. But luckily, since we already had most of that data available, it was just the cleanup and maybe adding a couple fields to make it work.
So this is an example of another one of the instant apps that were created. Where were all the food pantries? When were they going to be open? When were they going to be available to the public? Because there were just so many unknowns. And the purpose of this app, it was just to display the food pantries and the hot meal site locations across the county. The Stark County Hunger Task Force supported more than 30 food pantries across the county. Maslin, Canal Fulton, Beach City, just to name a few. And, we wanted to make sure that pantry visitors were, able to get food when necessary. And, they knew what their eligibility was. And just to make sure that the critical food assistance was being provided. The app also included information such as, the location names, the addresses, phone numbers, the eligibility information, and the hours of operation. So that Near Me widget really helped individuals determine what was nearest to them, to their current location. And they also had Google directions to help them get there.
Another application that was added to the hub was just our park and trail locator application. We had deployed this previously, but it had kind of been sitting there for a few years, getting the motivation to kind of clean it up and do a nice data refresh and just make sure that all the information was reliable. This kind of made us do that. So that was good. This was during the time when, a lot of businesses and places in Stark County, Ohio were closed. So it was just part of the, hey, you can still go to the parks and get out there and do something. So this one came up as a valuable application to put out on that hub as well for the public, so they could just see it in one place.
Some of these apps ended up being helpful. They're still in existence now, and having these available to the public then when we needed them, it was motivation for us to get them going, and it's cool because now they're still sticking around.
Yeah, and that kind of sums up this one too. Because we did have like there were some other interactive map applications as well for the public that we spun up, and I'm embarrassed to admit we just tore them down. We didn't keep screenshots of them. I'll get to like how we tracked all the changes we made later, but we didn't keep screenshots, so we decided not to put those in here. But it kind of opened up the door to a lot of different relationships with a lot of different groups within Stark County to work with and begin seeing what they had for data and if there was a spatial component, and helping those agencies to realize how useful having their information within an interactive map actually was, and how easy we could configure something for the public to be able to use. It didn't have to be like something complicated. We were able to showcase that quite a bit, I feel like. And again, it was a great feeling to deploy each one of these, and it was also a great feeling when it was time to sunset an application that had reached its end of life for this project. So, throughout all those calls that we were having, well, we weren't having them. We were just sitting in on them with the various elected officials and other agencies throughout the county. It was realized that the county needed to step up and provide more guidance. The Stark County Coronavirus Response Hub had kind of served its purpose, and it was time for us to do more and take that extra step and begin collaborating with others. So this, it's time for more direct collaboration. So Stark County GIS began working directly with the Stark County Health Department to efficiently accomplish the following goals. We needed an authoritative site for constituents to get reliable, authoritative information. That's something we were already trying to do, but we needed to build upon it more and provide more information. And also provide a digital form for questions and complaints. The local health departments were really under a lot of pressure and working so many hours to serve the public. Luckily, we had already worked with the environmental division of Stark County Health quite a bit in the past and had a really great working relationship with them. They had a few solutions through both Stark County IT's developers team, custom developers team, and Stark County GIS. And I really believe that helped quite a bit when it came to getting things done quickly. We were able to just get right to work and listen to each other's suggestions. Okay, so this now came like our first deployment of the Restart Stark Hub. Stark County again chose to go with another hub initiative deployment due to the flexibility and ease of updating this. We were able to provide clear guidance on Ohio's phased reopening approach, as well as business guidance, employee guidance, public guidance, and then again, that questions and complaints digital form. For the business guidance, employee guidance, and public guidance, we were able to use a lot of what the Ohio Department of Health had available on their website. We just kind of went through and curated it a little bit more closely to what was applicable to Stark County. It was really that phased reopening that required the constant modifications to the site. I'll talk more about how we managed all modifications and the questions and answers digital form a little bit more later, but those were kind of like the heavy lifts for us. In the state of Ohio, I'm not sure what other states ended up doing, but in the state of Ohio, there was phased opening. So we would all, like Thursday afternoons, just know that there's some changes coming and someone would have to be ready for it. So getting back to what I should be talking about, Restart Stark, once that site was approved, so we worked with Stark County Health very closely to design what they felt was necessary and important. Once that was approved, the Restart Stark replaced the Coronavirus Response Hub as the clickable link on all county department homepages. So this is just kind of an example of what that looked like. So it was Restart Stark, a phased approach to reopening businesses. And then the other image is actually our latest iteration of Restart Stark. Well, was the latest, I should say. This was after, months and months of changes. This was probably our second or third redesign, a picture of that there. All right, so the Restart Stark questions and complaints. This is, for me anyways, more of like, at least with Restart Stark, more of like the GIS that went into Restart Stark. So this was designed by working closely, again, with staff at Stark County Health Department. We used ArcGIS Survey 123, and Stark County GIS staff were able to design a form for the public to easily use, as well as our staff to easily modify. This piece of the solution, we went with this Survey 123 route because we had already deployed a solution in the past for the Stark County Auditor's Department in their informal appeals process. So we kind of followed a lot of the ideas that we used for that. So it really wasn't, the lift wasn't as huge as it may seem. For this, we use Survey 123 Connect and a hosted feature service for the public submission piece. Survey 123 has been a really great tool for us. For the public, it just looks like a normal form, so it's easy to use. On the back end, configuring the questions, the if-then type questions were really nice for our staff. Also easy to modify when something new came in. And we were also able to overwrite the forms, especially with just using one hosted feature service on the back end. Adding a field was much easier than if we had tried to do this any other way. So that was our front end piece. That's what the public saw. We needed to have a way for the staff at Stark County Health to manage all of the questions and complaints that were coming in. And to do that, we ended up using another Esri template, a contact us manager. It's from the crowdsource manager template. So we used that for staff to be able to manage the records. We had a lot of luck, again, using this template for other projects, and especially keeping that end user staff in mind, maybe staff that didn't really like using a computer. This template provides a pretty easy to use feel for that end user. I ended up spending very little time, maybe like 10 minutes, showing Courtney with the Stark County Health Department how to use it. She took it from there and trained everyone on their staff. The way this template works is off of web maps. So each of the categories that you see in that kind of screenshot has its own web map. And this also allowed us to use a single hosted feature service for the data by filtering to get what they needed in each one. They were able to keep all their work, what was done, and who was assigned to making record requests. Oh, who was assigned, and then like whenever anyone did make a record request, it was also very easy for them to retrieve that information. Okay, so we also felt it was necessary to provide a summary of this data for Stark County Health Department. So we spun up an ArcGIS operations dashboard. This has been our go-to for any executive level view data. It makes sharing with the appropriate internal and external staff members pretty simple. Can quickly provide numbers to the media because they were getting phone calls all the time. And when necessary, the ability to see each individual inquiry is also available. It's just the way that we designed it based on their needs. It went through, a few modifications as well, but for our staff, we did have a lot of experience with these. This ended up being the dashboard that our group made that had more hits than any other we had ever made, which to me shows that it was used very often. It did go through a few modifications, but really not that many changes that were difficult for our end users to pick up on. They didn't need like a, let's go through this again and we'll show you where everything's at. It's pretty self-explanatory, and people figured out how to get what they needed out of it. So the questions and complaints, the Stark County Health Department quickly recognized the benefits of an online form for both the record keeping piece and also cutting down on the number of phone calls they were getting. And they were also just receiving a lot of phone calls for like different complaints, even just outside of their own jurisdiction. So we quickly were able to incorporate other health departments in Stark County into this solution, City of Alliance Health Department, City of Canton Public Health, and City of Massillon Health Department. And I don't know if anyone visited a health department spring of 2020, but it was like, I don't even know how to explain it. Just like it was like being in a call center. All other operations were basically put on hold to really just help with all these efforts. And this map, I didn't really, that's okay. We'll go to the next one. That makes more sense. I just real quick, like Stark County Health has like jurisdiction over most of the county. The only areas that are maintained by other health departments are they're like lightly gray shaded on this map. So Stark County Health, has a huge jurisdictional area and lots of different people that are within their jurisdiction. Yeah, so the next we talk about adding the 3 additional health departments. So as you can imagine, the city health departments were all on board. Everyone recognized that working together would also benefit the public. Each of the city health departments received 2 to 3 named user logins. They received a Contact Us Manager application to manage the questions and complaints coming in, a fully configured ArcGIS operations dashboard that summarized their jurisdiction's questions and complaints as well was one of the things that they received. So again, startup time was very minimal. These are pretty simple to use applications. Each of the city's departments, by kind of partnering and going in on this, were also included in any of the modifications that were made to restart Stark. If they had any suggestions or something that they saw that they wanted changed, they would funnel those ideas through Stark County Health first, just to make sure everyone was on the same page, and then they'd come to our group to make those modifications. So, collaboration, getting everybody involved, super great. Everyone's all excited. We did end up, realizing, oh, this is kind of a lot. So many questions and complaints were coming in. Stark County health staff initially they took on updating a field to send these mostly it was the complaints to the appropriate jurisdiction when it was outside of their own. So our solution was to spin up a service on our geo event server to take care of that and let technology do the work for us. So on the Survey 123 form that was shown earlier, all the complaints that were filed were required to have a location. And we used Esri's geolocator instead of our own address locator, just because theirs just had you could type in Wendy's and it would take you right to the spot. So that made it really easy as well. We had barely anybody that, had issues with that. So we just kept it that way. So anyways, the points would get dropped on those complaints. And on the back end, we already had the maps filtered based on the jurisdiction. And now that the field was automatically being updated using Geo Event Server, the records just kind of went where they needed to. So let me back up because I kind of jumped ahead there. So initially, Stark County Health was looking at all complaints that came in. So everything that came in, and then they would determine which jurisdiction they fell into. Stark County Health would update a field in the questions and complaints layer that was just called a jurisdiction field. And that's how all of the information was filtered within the backend web maps. These were set up because that's how Crowdsource Manager works. So the Geo Event Service just updated that field based on where the point's location was. And it took care of probably 95% of those records. When a point was occasionally placed in the wrong spot, it would end up going to Stark County Health, but they would just kind of follow their old workflow where they would just update that jurisdiction field, and then the record would automatically show up in the proper with the proper agency so they could do their work. Okay, so Restart Stark modifications. Restart Stark went through a couple complete redesigns through the course of its useful life and a ton of modifications. We had some additional short-lived forms using Survey 123 as well. At one point, sports tournaments had to register with the county health, with all of the health departments, so we spun that up. We also had a vaccine eligibility form that was happily phased out once the state of Ohio released their solution, and also a vaccine locator interactive map, which was also phased out once the state of Ohio released their solution. Oh, shoot, Haley was going to read this one. I'm going to be quiet now. Sorry.
You're fine. No, you're totally fine. Yeah, so just to add on, I think just the vaccine locations were all geocoded. We put them into the ArcGIS web application, and it utilized the Near Me template. The form was embedded into the application. It allowed users to fill it out, find the nearest vaccination locations to their residents, and once the state's VMS solution was deployed, then we were able to deprecate this piece of the solution and go back to focusing on just other aspects that needed more attention at the time.
Thanks, Haley. Sorry about that.
You're fine.
I just started yeah, and also just to add on to the vaccine piece, I just remember it would just change. I feel like it was weekly. It was changing. If you're over 50, if you're over 65. So we went through all those changes until the state thankfully had their solution up and running, because we were on the spot to have that updated as soon as that guidance was released. So if there was new guidance released, we needed to update that survey within minutes, just to make sure that all that information was kept up to date. And then if this then that's even changed, it wasn't just age, there was even more more built into it. So yeah, survey 123 was great for that. So all right, how did we keep track of all of these modifications that were going on to Restart Stark? New guidance was flooding in, changes had to be made ASAP. I already said that. Stark County IT uses JIRA for work management and issue tracking. So, new guidance would be announced to everybody in an afternoon, and then changes to Restart Stark were made. This allowed us to keep everything up to date. Restart Stark served both the citizens and business owners in Stark County, Ohio, as the Restart Stark website offered resources to consume accurate information and participate in crowdsourcing efforts, including that question and complaint dashboard, sports tournament registration. I don't know if these notes are supposed to go with this one, so I'm going to stop talking about that. But yeah, we'll just keep going with the modifications. All right, so again, Restart Stark modifications. Stark County IT also uses Confluence as our collaborative documentation space. This helps keep track of all the various applications, including the surveys spun up for Restart Stark. And it just was a place where we documented all this stuff. So anyone on our team could step in and help if they needed to. So this was kind of our one-stop shop location for our internal team to collaborate and just manage and adapt to the ever-evolving project of Restart Stark. So I guess we'll go back to kind of like, how were we able to do this? How did we get enough licenses through ArcGIS Online for all of this? We ended up using Esri's disaster response program just to get more licensing, really just for logins. So we could get enough logins for all of the county health departments to be able to access and maintain their records that were coming in. So special thanks to the team at Esri. They have great resources that helped make this all a possibility. I'm happy to report that Restart Stark was phased out at the end of 2021. It's always sad to sunset a solution, but the message is clear that a significant impact was made. The increased awareness of geospatial technology among our county's health professionals was huge. I mean, even among just like elected officials, it was a really big deal. And the level of collaboration to educate residents and businesses over a multi-jurisdictional area was also just really, really great. So another COVID-19 project for Stark County GIS kind of surfaced while we were doing Restart Stark. So the Stark County Nursing Department reached out to talk to us about what they were doing for contact tracing. Stark County GIS staff ended up creating and deploying a contact tracing solution for Stark County Health as well. This one was probably our most hastily created, complicated solution that we had ever built, with just as many guidance changes throughout the course of its use. And we like to attribute like this project coming our way just to the success with Restart Stark within the Stark County Health Department. And occasionally nursing staff within Stark County Health would be assigned a question or complaint that came in from Restart Stark. So they were able to kind of see like how easy it was to use. And I think that just helped a lot with that effort. And so kind of what came after that, we had the complexity of the contact tracing solution required a few GIS staff members to actually be on site with Stark County Health as it was rolled out. That one, that one was a little more than 10 minutes. It was usually me that was there. Our deputy director, John Reese, would also join me many days at Stark County Health, just trying to help, help them get caught up, help them understand how to use the solution, help them with workflow modifications. It was something. So anyways, a few months later, very exciting news. The Stark County Health Department hired their very own full-time GIS staff member. Once she joined the team, we were all kind of able to get back to working with other departments in the county. And then once the state eased some of the requirements of the contact tracing on the local health departments, she was able to also focus on other initiatives for Stark County Health. All right, so I'll just talk about her big wins real quickly. The Stark County Health GIS staff member, she really does a great job deploying hubs along with many other things. But here's some of the hub sites she has deployed so far that also have earned a spot on the Stark County Health homepage, because that's kind of like a big thing too. Like you make these hubs and then how do you find them? Well, Stark County Health has, they see how beneficial one of these hubs are. So it's really cool just the success she's had. So the first one is Haley is going to talk about.
So just for the sake of time, I'll be brief. But with the opioid epidemic, that's something, we actually had an awareness page for it. And now there's a nice hub that, everything, using the Esri solutions, it's all there. We can look at the fatal overdoses that are happening within the county, where you can find Narcan. There's a plethora of resources that folks can use within the county now due to this.
Okay, one of our other ones is the Stark Marketeers. This one just is aimed to encourage residents to visit local farmers markets. And this dashboard that she has as a part of a very small part of this hub that they're doing like a rewards program. If you go to so many farmers markets and fill out our form, we'll send you a reward at the end. But it's kind of cool. She's got a little dashboard that shows, how many people are participating, where they're participating, what they're buying. And the goal, is to improve eating habits throughout Stark County with this project. Another hub that she deployed was the COVID-19 Business Safety Initiative. This gives businesses the opportunity to apply for items needed to improve the safety for their employees and customers. It was originally focused on businesses located within low to moderate income areas. So we did have to kind of help her with getting that set up, that little piece, so that they knew whether or not they were within a low to moderate income area. So there was a Survey 123 form involved with this as well. But the businesses, they had a lot of participation in this program as well. So it's just neat to see, all this stuff come together and be available in one place.
We really like our Survey 123 forms here.
That's what we know, and yeah. And then another one of our hubs was Dear Stark Women. So this one, the goal of this campaign was to make women more aware of the resources that are available to them. So this one's another cool one to check out if you're interested in what Stark County Health is doing and how they're using our GIS hubs. So I guess really thanks for tuning in. Feel free to reach out at any time. We love working with others and learning about what others are doing here at Stark County GIS. It's always best, you always have the best luck if you reach out to us via email. That's just our group email that goes out to all of us. So yeah, thanks again.
Thank you, Skyler and Haley. That was really a very impressive page that you spun up, and tying that all together. I'm sure we're going to have a bunch of questions. I just wanted to say thank you so much for spending your time with us and going through that information with us. I think the preferred method to submit a question would be going through the chat window, and then I'll read them out loud, and you can answer them so that whoever is watching the recordings will understand the questions and answers. And if we have some more detailed questions, you might be able to unmute yourself and ask those questions directly. Interested to know myself, now that you've been through this, what could your fellow GISers be doing preemptively for the next thing that's coming up that we don't know about? What would you think would be a good background to have for whatever's coming down the road?
I want to let Haley answer this one.
Oh, geez. I think one of the things that helped us, and if I had to make a recommendation or a suggestion for anybody, is to make sure that you have whether or not it's a software or some type of product that allows your team to collaborate, just a really great way for all of you to collaborate, to be able to talk, to keep yourself on the same page, to where if somebody was out of the office, you have a sick day, when you have something that has to have that quick of a turnaround, or it needs people 24/7 to be making edits, just so that it's easy to consume, easy to understand, and those changes can easily be implemented as well.
Very good. You were showing some of your spin-offs afterwards, like the Stark County Women's page. What has been your favorite benefit or adaptation after Restart Stark has been deactivated? What's come out of it that you've seen the most benefit from?
I mean, for me, it was just them hiring somebody in Stark County help for GIS.
It's pretty impressive.
Seeing what you can do with data, because we had like all these efforts. Haley worked very closely with like the nursing division of Stark County Health in the past, but we always had just some disconnect, and for them to hire their own GIS professional on site was just, I don't know, for me that was just really cool, and for them to, I don't know, just really embrace this technology and keep using it, keep building things out. I think they've all been really successful. I don't know that I can just pick one.
I know you said early on that you had backing from elected officials and higher ups. It seems to me that after that great presentation and reliance on your product, that could only have improved over the time.
Yeah, we are very, very fortunate that we do have that support, and we have these various examples that we can remind them of. Yeah, when we do start to maybe have a little bit of a struggle. So yeah, for sure.
Was there anything else that you guys can think of that you didn't touch on in your presentation that you think would be important to give out at this time? We still have some minutes, so I might just go on to just a recap on the URISA side, and then that gives you guys some time to think. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to put them into the chat box. I want to mention a little about URISA's eSIG awards before we finish this call. Every year, there are 2 categories that nominations are sought for: enterprise system category and a single system category. If you are doing something interesting in your work group, please consider applying for an eSIG award. It's quite detailed and takes a little bit of time, so you want to start early. And there's plenty of people that have done this before, like these ladies, that would have information that may behoove you. It's really been my pleasure today to have Skyler and Haley share their work at Stark County with Restart Stark. Thank you for sharing your time and submitting your application in the first place, well over a year ago. And thanks to everyone for attending today. Wendy has just posted the link to the URISA page of winners and award winners. I know the new award winners have been assigned for this year, and so next year, same time, same place, we will have some more wonderful presentations on what other people are doing with GIS and in their government, exemplary work in their government positions. Any final words, Skyler, Haley, or Wendy?
I just wanted to say thanks for having us. It was fun. Thanks, Haley, for making us apply.
Good job.
That was fun too.
Thank you everybody for attending today. I invite you to check out the URISA page that's listed in the chat window and see you next year. Thank you.
Yep, thanks.